Connecticut or something. I don't know how I found him, but it's cool because he'll post on Instagram, like he'll do a post-it sketch almost every single day. So he'll just get like a single post-it and do a little sketch as like part of his. It's cool. Anyway.
That's dope.
Yeah.
What up, bro?
Chilling.
Glad you could join us.
Thank you. No, I'm glad you could join.
Thank you.
See?
Yeah,
No
there we
pressure.
go. Yeah.
We have Lindi here.
Hi, I'm Lindi.
With the Arts Council.
Yes.
Lindi, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you like to do at the Arts Council for fun.
Well, I like to get paid to work.
Hey,
my job at the Arts Council.
As you should.
My job at the Arts Council is I am the Director of Development and Philanthropy.
Cool.
So I spearhead the fundraising efforts for the Arts Council. We are a 2-person team. We have Brianna, who handles all things grants related. We both write grants, issue grants, and pass through grants. So that is a huge part of what we do. So Brianna handles grant management. She's the grants director, and then all the other fundraising basically falls between me and Jonathan. We are a very small team, so having someone who is comfortable and can fundraise as your CEO in a nonprofit is a huge benefit.
Really?
Huge benefit.
Okay.
So I do, working on creating a major gifts program, planned giving program, annual campaign, restricted giving, all those things that you need in order for the Arts Council to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fascinating because as an artist, just an individual artist, like raising funds is like an entire different world to me. Like you've given me a couple books and I've been sifting through them. I want to tell you now I've been highlighting in them.
Oh, yeah,
so
good.
sorry in
No, I don't
advance
care.
for all the notes. And
Maybe
shit
you'll
that
be
I'm putting in
highlighting
there.
something that I missed, so that'll be good.
Hopefully, we can go back and forth. But it's like as I'm like reading through it, I'm like, oh, okay, this is like a for real skill that you really have to. It's one thing to learn just the ins and outs of it, but it's like you have to go do it.
So my background is actually in the arts, and fundraising, the majority of fundraising is storytelling. And if you can't tell a story, you cannot get people on board. Like,
who wants to give money to just whatever?
Right. Like it's hard enough. It's hard enough to convince people to split, to give up $20 to go out to dinner, right? When you donate to a nonprofit, you don't receive anything in exchange for that. There's no benefit. There's no personal benefit. You might feel good about it, but there's no monetary or tangible, tactile benefit. There's no exchange of goods or services. So fundraising is really about how do you tell the story? So I'm a big fan of catharsis, the idea of catharsis.
Yes.
How do you tell a story so that a donor can engage with that story, experience catharsis, and then take that next step of saying, I want to support it. So that's sort of how I think about fundraising. I really do approach it from the background of I'm a classically trained actor, worked in Hollywood did the Hollywood hustle for a really long time.
Dope.
And the transition from that sector to this sector, once I realized it was just storytelling, then it's easy. It's easy to convince people. It's easy to motivate people. It's easy to engage people if you can tell a story.
100%.
And if you talk, some donors want to hear about the budget, and I can talk budgets. I don't like talking budgets, but I can do it. Most donors want to hear about how their money directly affects people within their community, and that's sort of how I approach it.
It's like tapping into the humanity behind it, because we look at people who have the ability to donate as just a dollar sign, and it's like those people want to donate and buy. Just like anything, you put your money towards something that means something to you.
We live in a society that is structured in a way that nonprofits have to exist, right?
Right.
We live in a society where the nonprofit has to exist. For-profit businesses and governments are not structured, we're not created to take care of everything. And so nonprofits have to exist. But the struggle that a nonprofit has is you have multiple stakeholders. You have your clients, you have your donors, you have your leadership, and everyone wants something different from you. And so you have to be able to say, I'm servicing my clients, who are the clients of the Arts Council. It's our community, it's our artists. So how can we serve our clients while honoring our donors' wishes and understanding what motivates them to give? Some people give because they want to feel good about themselves. Some people give because they want the tax break. We gotta be really straightforward about that. There is a lot of incentive to donate. And right now in Congress, there is a charitable act that is a bipartisan supported legislation to help lower the threshold for itemizing nonprofits donations. So right now, if you donate, if donating, if philanthropic giving is part of your personal budget, you do not get to itemize below a certain level, which means you are more incentivized to donate the richer you are. But we also know that most donations come from lower and mid-level givers. These are the people giving less than $500. We also know that the biggest donors are donating to health organizations, religious organizations, and arts and culture. So how do we incentivize people who do not have the capacity to donate $10,000?
That was going to be my next question.
How do you incentivize? So there is work on a congressional legislative space to sort of address that. But most people in their day-to-day philanthropy, they're giving $25 here for like a church fundraiser, $50 here for whatever. Those really small donations, which are the lifeblood for most nonprofits, are not able to be itemized right now. And so that's something that on a national level, the nonprofit sector is working to educate and hopefully encourage that legislation to pass if and when it ever gets brought back.
So basically, that legislation will incentivize folks who can give $50 to actually give $50 because
you'll get the tax benefit. You'll get the tax benefit. Okay. So that legislation was enacted during COVID because it was a way during COVID. There is year after year declining of gifts to nonprofits, year after year. So we have to figure out ways to say, look, we need these services. You know, if your local arts council disappears, what does that mean for the community? For us specifically, that's Fest for, we don't do Fest for All anymore. That's, that's, the Live After 5, Sunday in the Park, Louisiana Arts Market, the millions of things that people who don't know what the Arts Council do behind the scenes.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so our arts integration program, that is funded 100% by donations and grants, by philanthropy. That is not...
That's a great program.
Yeah, that's not something that is in our budget. We have to fundraise. That's not something that is revenue building, so we have to fundraise in order to ensure that our director of education can go into the school. We know it costs about $3,000, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, to bring an artist to do an arts integration for 6 months. Yeah. That $3,000 we gotta fundraise for it. So yeah. And someone who we have someone who wants to underwrite that. They want to say, I want to donate $3,000. Right now, they would not be able to itemize that. They'd get the tax benefit, but they wouldn't be able to itemize that.
What's the amount?
Oh man.
You talking about the amount to where you can't?
I don't know off the top. I mean, I can get it for you. I don't know it off the top of my head. I think it's broken down by individuals and households, obviously, because it's different for a household versus an individual. But I know, like me and my family, we donate. We are what I would consider low-level donors. We have a budget for philanthropy in our household. It does not exceed $100 a year. That is we're pushing it. That is, we work in the nonprofit space too, right? But we are not able to itemize that. I still get my tax acknowledgement. I can still pass it on, but I'm not able to
Right,
itemize it.
yeah.
So I can't speak as eloquently as that as I'd like to, but it's something I'm really interested in. I'm just generally interested in how policy shapes different sectors, and the nonprofit space there's a lot of people who are interested in controlling the nonprofit space, and they don't always know what's best for the nonprofit space. We are not a for-profit business.
Yeah.
So we have to, I have to learn a lot about the policies that are being talked about so that I can advocate for the sector, I can advocate for my donors, and I can advocate for the clients and organizations I work for.
Dope.
Yeah.
That's super interesting. So
It actually, yeah.
The richer you are, I say the richer you are, the higher, like your economic status. It's like, well, you'll continue to have these benefits, but
The tax code is written to benefit certain people.
that's it.
So so the people who are left out are often nonprofits and the people they serve, and that's why the nonprofit sector. That's why it's really important to give locally. I'm a big supporter of find what you're interested on a local level and give locally, because people on the ground local know what their organizational needs are. Not to say there's anything wrong with national organizations. They do amazing stuff, and a lot of that goes towards, people always complain about overhead in nonprofit. Overhead is the people doing the work.
Right.
Yeah, I was surprised when I learned it's only 7. There's only 7 staff members that are.
There are only 7 staff.
Making this
We're
shit
about to have 8. We have 7 staff members, and each department is basically one person.
Yep.
So the development team is a 2-person team, but we are very clear that Brianna does grants and I do everything else. But we have 1 director of education. We have 1 director of operations. We have 1 director of technical operations. We have 1, we're about to get a new comms and marketing director. And we are all, that's who runs the Arts Council for nearly 1 million people that we service.
Yeah, and you're talking about 1 million people just in Baton Rouge. I mean, y'all.
No. It's the 10 parish region.
10 parish.
So we service 10 parishes, and there's just shy of 1 million people in the 10 parish region that we serve.
But then also, y'all still have that impact statewide also, right? Because I mean, there's things that you guys do that are attached where people come in from all over.
Yeah. So we service Region 2 of Louisiana. We host the only convening art summit across the state that convenes all the art summits across the state. I believe there's only 9. Outside of New Orleans, we are the largest nonprofit. New Orleans is its own ecosystem, as it often is. Yeah.
I didn't know the Arts Council is larger in New Orleans.
I think so. I feel like that's accurate. I might be misremembering. I don't know. I mean, the service population isn't. Yeah. But sorry, my phone is.
You're planning for the summit now, aren't you?
Art Summit, yeah, we are already planning. Art Summit is October 8th, 9th, 10th of 2025. I've actually about 15 minutes ago emailed our potential keynote speaker to see if we can get that person back. We had an amazing keynote speaker lined up for last year, but unfortunately there was a death in her network of friends and family, and she had to pull out. But she is an incredible.
I'm trying to get her back this year.
We're going to try to get her back this year, and hopefully we will. And she's an incredible singer, actor, Broadway star. And she originated the role of Anna on Broadway's Frozen.
Dope.
Frozen on Broadway, yeah. So we're hoping to get her back to talk about her experiences. And she's a big advocate for mental health. And we know that artists are not encouraged to advocate for themselves, right?
Nope.
And we know that in the performance space, I mean, my background is performance art. You show up, because if you don't show up, you're getting yelled at by your stage manager, your director, your second director. If you're in equity, you're going to get yelled at. So it's very hard to advocate for yourself in those positions. And Patty is a huge advocate and educator on advocating for yourself as an artist.
Part of her story isn't isn't there something around when you're talking about like advocating for yourself? Like, didn't she have like something happen?
Yeah, she was
prior to a show.
So when you're on Broadway, you're doing 8 shows a week, right?
Wow.
So
Yeah.
you're doing 8 shows a week. It's an incredibly stressful career, and she was. I don't know the whole story, but she was about to go on stage as Anna on Broadway, and she had a panic attack, and she had an incredible support system that understood what was going on, and she was able to take some mental health days. But what that ended up doing, it caught on nationally. You know, she's playing a Disney princess, right? So what does it mean when a Disney princess has mental health needs? And it really opened up this conversation for specifically women, but also little girls, and just in general, that, you know, being a princess doesn't mean being perfect, that even Disney princesses have needs.
Yeah, it's
So
an unrealistic expectation for humans to, you know.
she's just a really incredible person.